Words of Sri Aurobindo from the book The Mother, with letters on the Mother by our Lord, from the collective works of Sri Aurobindo, volume 32, page 165. Topic: Opening, Sincerity and the Mother's Grace. Subtopic: The Mother's Grace. Question: Do calm and equality come down from above by the Mother's grace? Sri Aurobindo says, when they descend, it is by the soul's aspiration and the Mother's grace. The Mother's grace is there always. Open yourself to it in quietude and confidence. The sadhak says, I don't feel the Mother's grace as before. Sometimes I get a suggestion that I am not fit for her service and for yoga. For the Sri Aurobindo says, what is all this nonsense? The grace of the Mother does not withdraw. Open yourself and you will feel it. 1st May 1929. The presence whose fading he regrets can only be felt if the inner being continues to be consecrated and the outer nature is put into harmony, or at least kept under the touch of the inner spirit. But if he does things which his inner being does not approve, this condition will be inevitably tarnished, and each time the possibility of his feeling the presence will diminish. He must have a strong will to purification and an aspiration that does not flag and cease if the Mother's grace is to be there and effective. Sri Aurobindo says to practice yoga implies the will to overcome all attachments and turn to the divine alone. The principal thing in the yoga is to trust in the divine grace at every step, to direct the thought continuously towards the divine, and to offer oneself till the being opens and the Mother's force can be felt working within. Question: when a sadhak feels the Mother's grace coming down in him, is it by the consent of the Purusha in him? For the Sri Aurobindo says, what do you mean by the consent? The Mother's grace comes down by the Mother's will. The Purusha can accept or reject the grace. Question: is there any law of the working of the Mother's grace? Sri Aurobindo says, the more one develops the psychic, the more is it possible for the grace to act. Is the Mother's grace always general is the next question. Sri Aurobindo says both general and special. How to receive what the Mother gives generally? Sri Aurobindo says you have only to keep yourself open, and whatever you need you can receive at the moment and it will come. Question: some like me have exceptionally great imperfections and defects. We have no claim for any yoga, much less for the integral yoga. Surely out of her care and grace the Mother has managed to keep us here, but the only return we have given is to tire her out. For the Sri Aurobindo says it is so. If the sadhaks had been different in their reaction to the Mother's grace, the working in the physical would have been much easier and less perniciously subject to hostile attacks. Perhaps it would have been done by now. Opening and the presence is the next topic. Make yourself quiet and open, have a complete confidence, and you will feel the Mother's presence within you, says our Lord Sri Aurobindo. Make yourself quiet and open. Have complete confidence and you will feel the Mother's presence within you. It is by the constant remembrance that the being is prepared for the full opening. But the opening of the heart, the Mother's presence beings to be felt, and by the opening to her power above and the force of the higher consciousness comes down into the body and works there to change the whole nature. Question: the Mother says, keep yourself always open to me. I am always with you, around you. How am I to feel her presence always? Also, what does conscious mean? How does one become conscious? For the Sri Aurobindo says, the Divine Mother is everywhere and at all times she is with you. If one opens and becomes conscious, then one can feel her presence. It is because the nature is ignorant, full of itself and its desires, that one cannot feel the presence. But If one turns from oneself and desires and lives inwardly and outwardly for the divine, then one can feel the divine presence. Our Lord Sri Aurobindo says the condition you describe is a very good one, and it is evident from it that you opened sincerely to the Divine Mother when you met her. Keep that sincere opening always, and eventually a state of peace and joy and the sense of the Mother's presence will become permanent. Question. My dear Mother, peace in the vital, peace in my heart, peace everywhere. For this Sri Aurobindo says, let the vital and the heart open always to the Mother's presence, the true source of peace. Next topic, the Mother's presence. Subtopic, she is always present. Question. Why do I sometimes feel myself far from the Mother? I want to be able to feel her constantly with me. Sri Aurobindo says, Mother, the Divine Mother is always there with you. You have only to throw away the forces of ignorance to feel her with you always. Question. You have said always behave as if the Mother was looking at you because she is indeed always present. Does this mean that the Mother knows all our significant thoughts at all times or only when she concentrates? For this, Sri Aurobindo says, it is said that the Mother is always present and looking at you. That doesn't mean that in her physical mind she is thinking of you always and seeing your thoughts. There's no need of that. She is everywhere, acts everywhere out of her universal knowledge. Question. It seems to me that the more we communicate with our thoughts to her, the more we open ourselves to her forces and more effective becomes our surrender to her. Am I all right? Am I correct? For that Sri Aurobindo says, yes, quite right. Question. In what sense is the Mother everywhere? Is it because she has descended to the universal and has complete knowledge of the forces working there? I suppose the universal or everywhere includes the physical plane. If so, does the Mother know all the happenings and events on the physical plane? For this Sri Aurobindo says, including what? Like George had today for breakfast, or what Roosevelt said to his wife about the servants. Why should the Mother know in the human way all such happenings on the physical plane? Her business in her embodiment is to know the working of the universal forces and use them for her work. For the rest, she knows what she needs to know. Sometimes with her inner self, sometimes with her physical mind. All knowledge is available in her universal self to her. But she brings forward only what is meant to be brought forward so that the work may be done. Question. I had a dream in which I was walking alone in the desert. Was the meaning of the dream that the sadhana is very dry and difficult? Sri Aurobindo says, no, it is perhaps some part of the vital or the physical consciousness figured it. But the path is not a desert, nor you are alone, since the Mother, the Divine Mother, is with you. Question. My vital does not seem to have devotion for the Mother. Instead of loving her, it gets mixed with undivine forces. Protect me from these vital obstructions. I wish to feel that I am lying in the Mother's lap. Sri Aurobindo says the Mother is always with you. The vital has its desires, so therefore does not believe in the Mother's presence. You have to call down the Mother's force into it to remove its doubts and desires. The Mother is always with you, says our Lord Sri Aurobindo. The Divine Mother is always with you. Put your faith in her, remain quiet within, and do what that quietude what has to be done. You will become more and more aware of her constant presence. You will feel her action behind yours, and the burden of your work will no longer be heavy on you. These are the words of our Lord Sri Aurobindo.